Christmas, and welcome to the KHOU 11 News Studios. I'm Jason Bristol, breaking down this Christmas Day game against the Baltimore Ravens. It's a day in which Beyonce delivered and the Texans did not. Your final, Baltimore 31, Texans 2. The only point scored, obviously, courtesy of the defense, a safety by Kamari Lassiter. It was an ugly afternoon into evening at NRG. Football-wise, of course, Beyonce was spectacular. The show, Super Bowl caliber, halftime show caliber, it was that good. And of course, after every game, we're taking your comments. We want to know what you think about what you saw. We usually do one word. And you know what? We're still going to do one word while we wait for DeMeco Ryans and Stroud to each take the podium at NRG. This was ugly. You look at the stats. Stroud, 17 of 31, 185 yards, 1 interception, a quarterback rating of 59.2. Joe Mixon, 9 carries, 26 yards rushing, averaged 2.9 per carry. John Mechie, 5 catches for 48 yards. Nico Collins, 3 for 59. Robert Woods, Joe Mixon, Dalton Schultz, Xavier Hutchinson, each having 2 catches. The offense continues to be an issue. Early on in the broadcast, they mentioned about C.J. Stroud, his accuracy, not what it was in his rookie season. I'm going to continue to point to the pass protection. We all know it. It's not there. C.J., it looks as though he is sped up. He's forcing everything. He's going too quickly. They say happy feet, right? Well, everything right now, in my opinion, for CJ is unsettled when he's in the pocket. And because of that, he's rushing everything. Overthrows after overthrow after overthrow. But again, this is what you have to work with at this point. Nothing is going to change. It hasn't changed. And we're this deep into the season. Texans, of course, will have a playoff game as the winners of the AFC South. I imagine most of you are out there thinking it's going to be one and done. I'll take your one word. How would you describe this game against the Baltimore Ravens? Derrick Henry continues to just run over, through, and around Houston Texans defenses. Because his history coming into this game, 4 of his top 6 rushing games in his career have come against Houston. This was not an all-timer for Derrick Henry, but 27 carries, 147 yards, 5.4 yards a carry, ain't too shabby. Mark Andrews, 2 catches for 68 yards, including that 67-yarder. Lamar Jackson, 10 of 15, 168. Made some great moves with his feet. Really didn't have to do much because they had the running game. No excuses, only results. Right now, the results aren't there. I actually kept our board from last game, Saturday against Kansas City, in which you guys were all saying underperformed, heartbreaking, depressing, sad, rough, frustrating, tearjerker. Some of these, I think, are applicable today. Depressing, sad, rough, frustrating. Ravens with 10 points in the first quarter, 7 in the second. Texans had the safety, 14 points in the third for Baltimore, no scoring in the fourth. The team stats, not good either. Once again, we're awaiting DeMeco Ryans from the meeting room at NRG, the Houston Texans meeting room. This is where they hold the news conferences. I imagine DeMeco Ryans will use phrases like, "We were outplayed in every phase of the game." Texans had some moments defensively. Will Anderson Jr., he's a guy that probably deserved to be on a stage with Beyonce. He was very good. Total net yards, Ravens 432, Texans 211. Ravens 4 of 9 on third down. Yards per play, this is really the story. 7.1 for Baltimore. I believe in the first half it was up close to 10 yards a play. Houston ended at 3.9. It was 3.8, I believe, at halftime. Attendance, 71,544. Had to witness that. 31-2, an odd score, but I looked it up. It's not the first time we've had a 31-2 final score. It's the third time in NFL history. The most, I don't want to say recent, but the last one way back in 1965, September 19th, 1965 to be exact. The Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Giants 31-2. Once again, looking for your comments about this game. And I'll even take comments about the playoffs. Do you have any hope that this offense can do anything to win a playoff game? The defense, I believe, is good enough. Didn't show it today, except for in a few instances. Linda says, "Go Dallas Cowboys." But again, taking your comments on this game. CJ sacked 5 times for 37 yards. Lamar Jackson sacked once. Yards per pass, 4 yards for the Texans, 10 for the Ravens. Again, I believe DeMeco will mention about how this team was overmatched or dominated in every phase of the game. Also a not so great penalty on special teams, but now let's go live to DeMeco Ryans at the podium.
First off, just again, always a blessing when we get the opportunity to play again on the stage. We got to play it on today. Thankful for that opportunity. Of course, the game didn't go how we wanted to go. We didn't play our best ball, and all of that starts with me. Just a lack of execution. All right. If we want to beat a good team like that, you have to execute. We didn't execute well. Credit to the Ravens, really good football team. They came out, they played really well today, and obviously we did not. We'll take the next couple of days here to, look at everything, starting with myself, and everything starts with me. But as a team, we just stay together, figure out a way to come out playing better football.
Can you put a finger on some of the struggles that CJ had today, some of the missed throws, the inaccuracy, decision-making?
Yeah, no, we didn't. Everybody didn't play well, right? And that's everybody. Nobody played good enough for us to win the football game today. So, of course, there are, some opportunities we had that we didn't make, not only, from CJ, but from defensively, tackling, all those things, like in position to make plays. At the end of the day, you have to make plays. The Ravens made way more plays than we made today.
How much do you think playing 3 games in 11 days kind of
you guys did seem a little flat to come out. That Ravens had over 100 rushing yards. How much do you think playing 3 games in 11 days kind of showed up today?
Yeah, the 3 games in 11 days, I think all 4 teams who had the games had the same amount of time to prepare, the same opportunities, right? It's no excuses for the schedule. That we won't make excuses for that. The schedule is what it is. When the ball is kicked off, you put the pads on, it's time to show up and play, right? That doesn't change no matter when you're playing, who you're playing, or where you're playing. You always have to be ready to go.
Why do you think offense was never able to get going, and did that surprise you how fast you all played?
It wasn't our best outing, of course, all the way across the board. Offensively, defensively, special team wasn't our best outing. We didn't come out as I expected we would come out, and all that starts with me.
Yeah, you guys are down 2 of your major pass catchers. What are some ways you think you can give CJ some EJ completions, give things that can kind of open off the offense?
It's just everyone executing. We had opportunities there. It's just everybody executing, and especially it comes down to 3rd down, and we knew what this game would be. It's situational football, right? 3rd down, we didn't execute well, and in the red zone, offensively, defensively, we didn't play well in the red zone, and that's the game there, right? So if we want to be better and win these games, we have to execute in situational football.
DeMeco, can you explain? Tommy punting today, flip the field for you, put you in some reasonable position once you got down by 10, put you down there, and then, you got the safety. But after that, it looked like, this defense tried to bring you back in, but just wasn't enough for the rest of them to try to pull it out. What happened?
Yeah, when we play all 3 phases of playing together, I talk about playing complementary football. Like, that's what needed to happen. Like, special teams make a play, defense makes a play, and that's the spark that we need. And now, can we continue to ride that momentum and make plays, offensively and stay on the field? And that's where we just fell short today.
Take a few more.
DeMeco, what do you when you talk about execution or that's being the key, how do you address that? I mean, what do you do so that the team executes? Because that seems to be a challenge.
Yeah, I told all our guys just check themselves, right? Starting with coaches and players. You got to check yourself, and are you getting it done or not, right? This game is going to come down to guys making plays, and they had, 2 exceptional playmakers on their side, Lamar and Derrick Henry. They made plays, and that was the game.
Coach, how do you all bounce back from a loss like this? And I know that, in the NFL, there's no such thing as a good loss, bad loss. But how do you all bounce back from this?
Yeah, you come back, I think you come back fired up, and you come back showing like that's not who we are. Because at the end of the day, that's not who we are. That's not what we represent, what we put out there on the field today. That's not Texans football. So for anybody to come back and bounce back from it, you got to check yourself and make sure you're playing with elite execution and elite energy to go out and make the plays we need to make to win the game. So it all starts with a self-check. Sergeant, then we go from there.
Did you feel like CJ was pressing or frustrated or anything after those early misses? And if so, how do you kind of get him on track and keep him?
Yeah, with CJ, he just has to keep playing, right? There are going to be some misses. You just have to keep playing.
Last 2 right here. The decision to go for back-to-back 4th downs. Why did you make that decision? Was that to jump-start the offense? What went into that particular decision?
Yeah, we went into the decision on 4th down. We needed to score. Right, we had some momentum going for us. We needed to score 7 to beat the team like this. We're not going to beat them kicking field goals, so we needed to score 7. So that's why, I decided to go for it.
Last one.
Are you a little concerned that against teams that have winning records this year, you guys are 1-5? What do you think you guys have to do to kind of get over the hump to start beating teams that have winning records? Because in playoffs, teams that you're going to see usually have playoff records, things of that nature.
Yeah, the records really don't concern me. I never go into a game thinking about a team record, whether it's a winning record or a losing record. Every week it'll be about how you show up to the game and how you play within those 3.5 hours. It just matters. Are you the best team within that time frame? So the records really don't matter, and definitely doesn't matter when you go into the playoffs. So it's just all about looking internally and playing your best.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Hear anything? Can they hear me? Got me now? Was I there before? All right. Guys hear me? No sound. Can you hear me now? Got me now? All right, well, let's go back to that. All right, you got me? Okay. I will say this, Chad, to reiterate what you mentioned, thank you for weighing in. Didn't look like they put a game plan together for this one. After 15 games, you would think that the line would run block better or learn how to pick up stunts by the D-line. Also think something is wrong with CJ because he's missing wide open receivers. Bobby Slowick needs to step up his game too because this offense is pathetic. All good points. I would argue, and it's not an excuse, but it really doesn't matter who has been on that offensive line. They've continued to have problems. They had Kendrick Green in there today. He was the victim of a couple of the stunts. Fisher, the rookie. And I think everything to do with the pass protection and the lack of a run game is affecting C.J. Stroud. When you perform, when you're comfortable, he is uncomfortable in the pocket. His throws, his accuracy, everything for him is probably sped up because he doesn't know how long he's going to have in that pocket because he's basically had no time in the pocket. He doesn't know where that rush is going to come from at any given moment, and I think it's affecting him. I don't see how it couldn't. I mean, the pounding he's taken and the number of sacks and hits. Danny says elite execution, elite energy didn't happen today. Yep. It's not good. This is obviously something the Texans are going to seriously have to address in the offseason. And not having a running game, that's also been a huge issue for the Texans. Today, when you look at the rushing yards, 58 yards rushing, 3.4 yards a carry. Think of when this offense was clicking. Joe Mixon was doing his thing, putting up big numbers. And right now, it's not good. It is not good. And it also puts stress on the defense, as we all know, because when you look at the time of possession, Baltimore had the ball for almost 36 minutes, the Texans 25. The defense, and it wasn't great today, but the defense gets worn down. Let's see, what else do we have here? It's just very frustrating that the Texans, and you listen to Bobby Slowick. I was at the news conference on Monday, and he clearly seems to have a grasp of what the issues are, but they just cannot correct them. They just cannot correct them. And they can't, the execution, they cannot execute. And it's a huge, huge issue. Looking for your one word before we get to, actually, you know what, let's not do that. Percent chance. What percent chance do you give the Texans to win their playoff game? That first playoff game. What percent chance? Right now, I'd be at like 30% or less. I don't care who the opponent is. And it was brought up in the news conference, the post-game news conference, may have been DJ Bieneme from ESPN. The Texans are 1-5 this year against teams with a winning record. And what are you going to see when you get into the playoffs? DeMeco was a little softer than I thought, but after hearing him and processing it, I don't think DeMeco's the one to throw his team under the bus. He said, once again, didn't execute. The group didn't execute. It starts with me. That's not who we are. He mentioned that a few times. But at this point of the season, when you're talking about the offense, this is who the Texans are. This is who the Texans are. Because we've seen it game in and game out. They'll have maybe a good drive to start the game, a good drive to start the second half, and then things just fall apart. It's 3 and out, 3 and out. 2 plays and an INT. He didn't believe that 3 games in 11 days had anything to do with this performance and the way the team came out against Baltimore. Also mentioned he was that he thought this game, a lot of it came down to third down and what the Texans did in the red zone, both offensively and defensively. So, but again, that really sticks with me that he said that's not who we are. That is who this team is. That's the identity of this team right now. They can't protect C.J. Stroud. They can't run the football. And the passing game is a mess. Certainly, it doesn't help when you're missing Stephon Diggs and now Tank Dell. Some bright spots. I thought Will Anderson played pretty well, constant pressure. Did have one miss or a whiff on, I believe it was the one touchdown. But Will Anderson was very good. Dameon Pierce in the kick return game. That was, I mean, the way he plowed over some of those Ravens. That was the Dameon Pierce that we saw his rookie season. But once again, we're waiting to hear from C.J. Stroud following this 31-2 loss to the Baltimore Ravens. Let me see here some of the other comments. Get this here. Some comments from a previous post on our KHOU 11 Facebook page. Eddie says they need to forfeit their playoff spot. Absolutely painful to watch, and the effort was a complete joke. Last year's team had more fire with less talent. Carol Ann said it was a sad, sad day. Great defense, but offense just isn't there. This game was really bad. Cynthia, not surprised the first 2 quarters were awful. Didn't bother to watch the last 2. Just an awful game. Randy says when your quarterback can't hit his target, make a change. Poor coaching. Again, I will go back to this. It all comes down to the protection and C.J. Stroud not being comfortable in the pocket. Because he still makes plays from time to time, but he is constantly under duress. We did see him roll out a few times against the Chiefs. I didn't really notice that much in this game. Certainly a little play action rolling out oftentimes gives your quarterback some space and time. I'd have to go back and look through all the plays here, but I don't recall there being as much of that in this game as what we saw in the game Saturday against Kansas City. Renee said not one Texan showed up today. Stroud looks like he has lost his confidence and edge. Confidence? Perhaps. Bill said they choked like always, similar to my Cowboys. Unfortunately, the Cowboys haven't done anything since Troy Aikman. Steven said the uniforms are cool. Rough day. Texans didn't even show up. What an embarrassment. No more primetime games next year. How embarrassing. Still a Texans fan, though. Went to a football game and a concert broke out. Texans need everything. Definitely not ready for the playoffs. You know, that's interesting because they definitely need help in pass protection. And typically, unless you have maybe one of the top 5 or 10 picks in the draft, you're usually not going to address pass protection in the draft unless you have a top 5 or 6, 7 pick. Because usually those guys are plug and play. The guys that are picked in the O-linemen taken in the first 6 or 7 picks, usually plug and play. A lot of the other guys may take some time, especially when you're taking them in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, etc. rounds. They're going to have to either make some trades or they're going to have to address this in free agency. But again, they have invested in this offensive line. It'd be interesting, and I should know this off the top of my head, but it would be interesting to look at the contract situations for some of these O-linemen. I mean, Kenyon Green is still obviously on a rookie deal. Juice Scruggs, Jared Patterson. Obviously, Titus Howard and Laramie Tunsil are 2 guys that have signed extensions. Very rich contracts for a lot of money. I do see some movement here. Our camera at NRG Stadium. And yes, it appears C.J. Stroud is now at the podium. Let's listen in.
Hey, C.J. Robert Woods said that y'all didn't really show up today and play your game. How would you describe how y'all played today?
Yeah, that's exactly right, you know. Terrible on my behalf, you know. Probably one of my worst games of my whole career, you know, just came out flat, didn't have any energy, didn't lead the offense the way I should have. So, I always got to look at myself in the mirror and, you know, be honest with myself, and it's not good enough today. So, it is what it is. Can't hang my head down, but just got to keep going.
What do you mean, you didn't lead the offense as you should have? Did you feel you were getting frustrated with some of those early misses?
No, I just kept missing, you know, just wasn't making throws. And at the same time, you know, I got to find a way to stand in there stronger and make those throws. You know, just some miscommunication with me and some of the receivers. But ultimately, you know, it's up to me to, you know, make the throw when guys are open. So, yeah.
CJ, how do you put this one behind you before the playoffs begin in 4 weeks? But more importantly, how do you get back to straight before next week's practice going to Tennessee for the season finale?
You know, that's the only thing we can do. You know, there's nothing in life you can go back on and redo, you know. So it's all about how you respond, you know. You hit rock bottom, you know, the only way is up. So, you know, and we're still have a lot of hope, man. You know, at the end of the day, you know, we clinch our division, you know, and still have opportunity to go in the playoffs. So, you know, got to finish this year the right way against Tennessee, and, you know, hopefully, you know, by that time we're in a groove and rolling when the playoffs come.
This is a tough question to answer right after a game, but was there anything that stood out that you feel like, anything tangible that you all could fix, that you all feel like is fixable at this point?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, it's really our execution. It's not really anything that the other team does, but just, you know, what you know, we put out on the field, you know. So it's a lot of things to fix, and, you know, we'll be able to have these hard conversations and when the week comes by to have those and, you know, get things ironed out.
CJ, what has been the difference for you between year 1 and year 2 as far as performance on the field?
You tell me, you know, I mean, you know, I think, you know, I've tried to approach the game the same way I did, you know, and even, you know, I think I'm seeing it better than I ever have, you know, just a little banged up, so not really making plays, and that's a terrible excuse. But I mean, really just not making plays. That's really the difference between last year and this year for me is just not making enough plays. So and you know, there's times where you know the plays are to be made, and there's guys open, and I gotta find a way to you know make the play work, make somebody miss, or do something just that I'm capable of doing. You know, and you know, winning us a football game. You know, that's really you know up to me to lead our team in those times where guys are open, and you know ultimately it's just me making plays. That's really how I look at the difference between this year and last year, which you know can be fixed.
As a team, does a loss like this late in the year worry you?
No, I mean what are you gonna do? You know, cry and weep about it, and of course you know it's not easy, but at the same time it's part of the game. You know, sometimes you go out there and lay an egg, and it's not easy to sit out here and say that. You know, but that's what happened tonight. You know, we just didn't play well at all from the first play to the last, and you know, it's part of the game. Things happen. You know, I'm sure a lot of people in their careers have had this type of game before. You know, so I'm not gonna sit here and act like this is just foreign, but it is necessary to wake you up, and that's what it's gonna do for me and this team.
CJ, when things are going poorly like that and fans are booing from the home crowd, how does that affect y'all as a team, or does it affect you?
You know, I mean, people are entitled to their opinions, and you know, they care about the game, and you know, their emotions matter. You know, so I understand. You know, it's not my first time, and probably won't be my last. So it's not something to internalize and point the finger at yourself. You know, but it is something that you can, you know, use it to motivate you to like not want those moments anymore. So, you know, I got plenty of football left in my career. Hopefully, you know, God willing. And you know, I know this is going to be a story I'll tell one day that helped me in the long run. So, you know, it's part of life, man. You hit a lot of valleys, and then you have a lot of mountaintops. You know, and it's cliche, but you know, they say there isn't. What is it? There's not sunny days if there's not days with rain. So you know, this is a rainy day, but at the end of the day, you know, the sun will rise up tomorrow. You know, we have another crack at this thing next week, and you know, keep rolling.
CJ, a lot of teammates said that the energy was low. At what point did you sense that, if you agree, and how did that perhaps have an effect on you all's play throughout the game?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I thought we came in with good energy, like from the locker room, pregame, you know, and you know, just wasn't really. I was excited to play on Christmas. You know, my first time. You know, last year I was out. So I was excited to play, you know, and then on prime time, one of the first Netflix games, I thought that was pretty cool. And, you know, I didn't really feel our energy down until probably like right before half. And then we came out flat, you know, then I threw the interception, which made it worse. And, you know, so those are things that we can control. We can control how we approach the game. We can control, you know, our execution. We can control, you know, our X's and O's. And, you know, so I got to look at myself and be, if I'm not the one bringing energy and I'm being an energy vampire, then I got to check myself in those moments, you know. So, yeah, it is what it is. We'll learn from it and, you know, move on. All right.
There you have it, C.J. Stroud from the meeting room, press conference room at NRG, said that this should be a wake-up call. Not any energy. I have to look at myself in the mirror. Call it one of his worst games ever that he's ever had. Again, I'll go back to this. I just don't think CJ is comfortable in the pocket because of the constant pressure, and he's just playing fast, and he's not in rhythm. But hopefully, he says, the team can put up some good drives, and the offense can do some good things in their final game to get ready for the playoffs. Marvin says Beyonce got more yards than the Texans. You know, for as much as Beyonce covered the field, you may be onto something. Todd says there's nothing to break down. Offense didn't score, barely 200 yards of offense. Ding, 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 ding. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Yep. I also, during CJ's question and answer session with the reporters there, I looked up the offensive line contracts, overthecap.com. From what I could quickly gather, Titus Howard is signed through 2026. Shaq Mason is signed through 2026. Laramie Tunsil is signed through 2026. So again, the three cornerstones of your offensive line are here for 2 more seasons. All right, everybody. A lump of coal on Christmas from the Texans at NRG. It's unfortunate, but we all saw it with our own 2 eyes. As always, appreciate you weighing in, talking football with us after each and every Texans game. This was not a good one. The final is Baltimore 31, Texans 2. So, for our entire team here at KHOU 11, I'm Jason Bristol saying goodbye from the KHOU 11 newsroom. Once again, the final, Baltimore 31, Texans 2. Until next time, have a great week, everybody.